Congratulations. Thank you for being with us. And let's start with what you think of her response.
Well, that was appalling. It was an endless stream of babble and political obfuscation and at certain points lies. If Patricia de Lille's end game was to quote-unquote clear her name, well, she's prevented any opportunity of clearing her name. And that reeks of some other agenda, which is probably an assessment that she would have lost that battle and it's best to get out while she's ahead. She says
the disciplinary was the best opportunity after the media was invited to come and attend.
Absolutely. If you have an interest in proving that you are innocent, then you need a disciplinary hearing to do that. She had that opportunity. She'd won her battle to have that disciplinary hearing held in the open. There's every reason, if you are innocent, to pursue that disciplinary hearing and to achieve the outcome you want.
The other question is, though, why would the party, the DA, play nicely all of a sudden with Patricia de Lille if they could show her up in that disciplinary?
Well, one thing talks above all other things in politics, and that's votes. And I think the DA has done an assessment that this thing was just hurting them too dramatically to carry on. The 2019 election is one thing, that's a year away, but you must remember there's a big registration weekend coming up. And one of the effects of this kind of political infighting is that it drives up voter apathy. You don't register enough people ahead of the election, and that hurts you in the polls. And I think the DA is very worried about that.
I found this so unsatisfactory as someone who wants the truth. You've heard claims from both sides. That she's being defamed, the party that she's done some serious things, accused of nepotism even. They're even leaving the door open for her to campaign. So what does that say about the DA's own stance on governance?
Yeah, one of the prices you pay for a kind of expedient, compromised political deal is a whole range of contradictions. And one of them is you have a person who, a whole range of high-ranking DA public profile figures, John Steenhuisen, Natasha Mazzone, have put their reputations on the line to say is fundamentally and ethically compromised, now within the party and enjoying the same rights they do. It's one of the problems with these kind of compromises on an ethical level is that you never get a clean slate. And it's something the DA is going to have to resolve, but I'm not sure how.
Let's just look at what Musi Maimane he said. As the party that prides itself on a clean government, we were obliged to consider all the claims against de Lille. But now they're making a deal with her, not because she's innocent. They're not saying that. They're sort of saying we believe in clean government, but we've decided to do this.
Well, let's be clear. The real loser here...
So the subtext is votes.
Absolutely. And the real loser here are the public. And Patricia de Lille says there's no evidence. It's absolutely false. I mean, as you pointed out in that interview, there is a screenshot of an SMS. We know the date of the SMS. We know the number it was sent from. We know who it was sent to. And we know what it says. And it says, please vote this person in a predetermined fashion for a supposedly impartial employment hearing. And that is deeply unethical. And she refuses to answer any of those things. And the public will never have answers.
What will this do to the DA in Cape Town?
Well, it will help somewhat, and the thing that will help the most is time, because the DA now has hopefully a year to put this behind it and to talk about things that matter to voters instead of its own internal infights. And those kind of things are deeply damaging to your ability to be able to communicate with voters. So the party will now be hoping for a sort of free rein for the next year and focus on the future. And I'm not quite sure, but she will stay a member of the DA, so opening the door to her campaigning, would that be a positive thing for the party, possibly? Well, this is something
given her support base.
You have to ask about the DA. If it's willing to suppress all these charges to make this go away, then perhaps it's willing to go one expedient step further and actually use her to campaign in those areas where she has some support, the Western Cape and the Northern Cape. And perhaps that's on the table. It will be a very difficult pill, I think, for some people to swallow, but...
So you've been following this, you've been following the party. Give us a sense of the DA before the de Lille saga and after. What really has taken place here? How has the state of the DA changed? And what perhaps could have been done better?
Well, I think you shouldn't look at the de Lille matter in isolation. There have now been several high-profile public conflicts, from Helen Zille to Patricia de Lille and a whole lot of other junior people in between. And none of them have been properly dealt with in a quick fashion that delivers a sense of justice to those people inside the DA and that satisfies the voting base. And there is clearly a fundamental problem with the leadership inside the party that manifests in all these different things, where it is caught between a whole set of serious allegations and its political ability to act on them in a decisive fashion. And I don't think that's been resolved. And I think if another conflict arises soon, is very likely to play out in the same kind of way.
And what responsibility does Musi Maimane take?
Well, he and the leadership, I think it's probably not fair to separate them all, although him being the leader should probably take the most of it. He takes a lot of responsibility. I mean, this was kind of like a 38-round boxing match where eventually two people simultaneously landed a blow and knocked each other out, but no one won, and everyone's frankly just glad it's gone away.
Sure. Thank you so much for your analysis. That was commentator from the Institute of Race Relations, Garreth van Onselen.